Okay, welcome back to the Black Carnivore podcast. I am really excited today to bring you an interview with Rachel and Stu Stewart, who are the Southwest Black Ranchers. And we're going to have a really interesting conversation today, more about where our food comes from and all about meat. And, I think that's important information, especially for those of us who are from the city and really don't know what happens or, what goes on with our meat before it gets to the supermarket. Today is a great time to learn about all of that information. So without further ado, I am going to turn the camera over and we are going to talk to some really awesome people and just have a great conversation.
Thank you so much for inviting us today. We're so honored to be a part of the Black Carnivore community because we are definitely carnivores. We are so inspired by meat. We named our ranch the Protein Ranch. So, we come from, we both have a business background, but we come from fitness. So the fitness community knows, and as well as the carnivore community, how important protein is, and meat in our diet.
So yeah, it's definitely part of our background. We've learned a lot by, going through the process of coming out here and building a ranch. So we found a lot of.
So where is out here?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, we're in Douglas, Arizona, so we're pretty much right on the border of Mexico. So we're pretty much as far south as you can get. So that's where we decided to build our ranch. I do have a lot of respect for you, saw a little bit about your story and kind of what you've done. Going all meat that's real hard. I definitely know how that is through doing competitions and bodybuilding. I don't do all meat, but definitely kind of against the whole vegetarian thing, so to say. I don't believe in lab meats and getting products from the lab. So it's if you're gonna get a burger, you might as well get the one that God gave you, not the one that came out of the laboratory. Is my belief. Protein is very important for the diet. One of the things we've really learned about is how the USDA and the things that have to occur in order for everybody to get the meat. So, we're new to this and, we came from the city. So one of our things is it's we're going to actually get real meat for the first time that comes straight from, grass fed, not pumped with anything, not corn fed to make weight. No, it's not going to be, it's not a financial thing for us. So it's, a real big thing is just getting good meats out there that are nutrient dense.
Well, the pandemic was a big shock for us when we found out, they're limiting how much meat you can buy. I'm that's all we eat. So that really kind of shook us to the core. And with the gyms shutting down, I feel like people really kind of put their money and invested their, when everybody was panic buying and things like that, they kind of put their money into what they felt was important. And we actually bought a full gym almost in our little townhouse, and we had a whole gym set up in there. And
wait, where were you before? Did you say you were in California or
Phoenix and San Diego? We actually are from both. Yeah. And and then we started saying we have 4 kids, so they're also into fitness as well, weightlifting, and we were we need to go somewhere else. We need to be somewhere where they can have more space, because we weren't used to being inside all the time. We were always at the gym, or they had jujitsu, and we just always had places that we were going. So then just being home, we're okay, we need to do something different. And then with the limiting meat, that kind of came into play later, because we first we were we need to get some land. We need to go somewhere else that we can afford, and we couldn't afford to go into the market that just keeps rising right now. And so we went into land, and with the land, we were what should we do with the land? And Stu sold his car, so we bought 10 acres. He sold his little classic car that he had, and we bought the land. And so we're city people too. This is really new for us, and we're learning all about the different kinds of animals. Anyways, fast forward, we were looking up ranches and farms in Arizona, and there are no Black-owned ranches. None. not even one. And we went off of the census from 2017. We were looking up Black directories. We were looking. There's like community service or community organizations, but there's nobody that we could go to as a mentor is what we were looking for. And coming from business, I've learned a lot about mentors, and they say it's better to have a mentor that you can kind of relate to, even on that level. And so that's why we're like, okay, there's no Black ranches, so we have to start one. We have to start a Black commercial farm, because if there's food shortages once, that means that it can happen again, and we want to protect against that. And then we started diving deeper into farming and learning more about the food and where the meat comes from. And this last year, I've lost a little over 50 pounds. So I understand like the importance of nutrient dense food, and meat is the most nutrient dense food that you can get and that you can have and be healthy. And then I started finding out that there's levels to the nutrients in the protein by how the protein was raised. So if those chickens are grazed and moved around in a sustainable regenerative method, those eggs are going to have a higher amino acid protein in them. So then there's even deeper levels as far as the industrial food complex is concerned, because they're pumping out this food and this meat that doesn't, like, maybe those chickens never even walked, so maybe they didn't use their muscle, and that's the muscle that we're eating. So there's just so many different variations and levels to this that we're diving into. And then being an off-grid ranch, we've been like adjusting to that, and we like haul water out here, and we got animals in the last few weeks. And
this is so much like brand new information and lifestyle. I mean, seriously, even to like get this far, like, how did you? I mean, I guess I wonder, like, how did you get the idea to do this, and how did you decide to do like ranching versus farming? Like, I mean, there is like a history, or like TV shows, or this idea that city people decide, oh, I want to get back to nature, and they start a farm or they get a garden. Like, how did you decide I want to raise cattle? That's like different. And it's more intensive. You got these animals whose lives you're responsible for. Like, how did you decide that?
Well, it's for one, it's kind of like you just how you say, there needs to be representation for the Black carnivores. Like when we were looking like what we could do with the land. Well, she did grow up. She grew up in Chico. I grew up in Oakland. So she actually did a 4-H project. So she has had some experience as a youngster. I've never even been camping until I got out here. So it's all brand new to me. But just learning that, there, when we looked at what we could do with the land, it was like, okay, we can get some animals, we can get good food now, make sure that we're able to eat. And then we started looking, and there's like, back in what was about 1920, there was about 25% of the farms, 25 to 30% of the farms were Black owned farms. And a lot of times it's like, because we went from slavery and picking cotton in the fields to sharecropping, which means you go work and then you go pay for this land that you're sitting on, but you don't get to keep anything, which is pretty much the exact same deal, except you have a better housing situation. We just kind of flee the city. So that's why, as most minorities are always in the major cities. That's where they predominantly are. So seeing a farm growing up and being around a farm growing up is not something that you're going to really get anymore, if you're of color. So
at least out here.
Well, I mean, that's most places. I mean, yeah, it's like if 1.5% of the farms in the country are Black owned now, that's how far we went down. That means when you go to your grandparents' house, it's not going to be a farm anymore. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get those experiences. So when we kind of put all these things together and kind of being free thinkers, we're like, all right, so we could build something for our children. I'm kind of big on, it's certain things. Out of what I've learned from my degree is there's certain things that you just shouldn't invest all that money in. I have a business management degree, which helps me a lot, but that puts me at a sales job. So certain things will put you in a position where you either keep going back and going back and going back into more debt and going back into more school, or we could put them in a position where we turn this into something for them. So by the time they're 18, they should be running this because they built it, they developed it, and they've done everything along the way. that way it goes down more than one generation. It goes down generation to generation. So one of our big things was actually owning the land, because land ownership is not the easiest thing to do. And a lot of times you hear about people losing their farms. That's because there's liens on the land, or they have land leases, or issues like that. So having the ownership of the land was very important, and having them be a part of it was very important. So, if you build something, you're way more likely to stick around and continue on than if it was just given to you or something down those lines. So that's kind of big for us.
And you are very familiar with pioneering. So I'm sure you can kind of see that even just in the health and fitness industry, there's not so many Black leaders. Even though there's so many talented Black people, there's not so many. Like, you're one of the only people I'm finding who are like Black and promoting this kind of living, the meat diet. There's like I've seen on you talk about before, trying to get people to kind of wake up from the veganism thing. Everything isn't necessarily just the way we've been told. And so pioneering by showing other people there's other ways of doing things, and that we can produce things for ourselves too, and create a more diverse food market, a more diverse nutrition market, and the farming and ranching, showing that we can be here and we're doing it too. Because when we had some volunteers on our ranch, one of the volunteers was a dietitian, and she is one of the only ones in the state who's Black. So it's just interesting how like there's so many people, but there's like a lack of specialists, or there's a lack of what's the word I'm looking for? There's not so much of market. Where we also were looking into the history. You'll like this because you like meat. There's maybe a lot of Black farmers who farm vegetables, but they've been kicked out of the meat market. So like completely pushed out of the market by big names, like Tyson and things like that. So where even in our current day. So that's why even getting into protein, we were even more driven to do that, because we're like, okay, we don't just want vegetables, we want our meat. And this experience just in the last few weeks has helped us respect our food a lot more as well, because like you said, it's taking care of these lives. And just seeing, not like a cow, for example, it's a long process for that cow to be able to go to market. It's years for that burger to be eaten, where there's other animals, because we're also getting into the halal market, which is like goat and sheep as well. And those things can go to market within, months. And the babies can be born within months. So that product life cycle is so much shorter. And there's a hardiness to the animal. So like how you understand how there's allergens and people get sick, and there's things you have to protect and look out for, where there's certain animals that they don't necessarily need as much of the medicine and things like that, and they can withstand certain temperatures in our climate. So we're also learning how to like work with nature, with the animals that we have. And then speaking of nature, we're also doing like natural buildings. So we're doing adobe buildings. So those take longer, but they're going to be more solid. And you can already like feel and see the difference, because we have our chickens in some of them. And when we have like 30-mile-an-hour winds, it's just like they're fine inside of it. Like they're just like warmer in there, even though it's a little colder outside. And we've been hand digging. We're doing walapinis, which are like underground greenhouses. The walapini means like place of warmth. So they're about 8 to 12 feet underground, and the temperature is better regulated down there. So we're going to do growing food systems down there for vegetables. And
wait, I'm sorry. I don't understand. Oh. So this is an underground chamber where you can farm?
Not
or
a chamber. More like an open pit, kind of.
But it's depressed, so it doesn't have the wind. Like, okay, gotcha.
Totally. Yeah.
Wow.
And he's already hand dug about 9 feet on certain parts. And we have this like really hard rock called caliche here, which is like cement. So he has to use like a jackhammer. So mainly we were doing the building and the digging in like the first like 5 or so weeks, and then we've been working really a lot more with the animals. And we actually lost a cow last week, and so that was really difficult. But the temperature just dropped. It was like below freezing every night all of a sudden for 1 week, and she was just young, and these are things that happen. But that's why I was talking to a rancher yesterday about it, and I said, when you only have a few, losing one means so much. And he said, a few, you could have a lot, losing one means so much. He's like he was talking about losing like a baby when they're born, and things like that. And we actually just got some sheep yesterday, and they are Barbados black belly sheep, and they're supposed to be a lot less muttony. They're a leaner meat, and they have like hair, not wool. And they're pregnant, so we're gonna be having babies like really soon. So these are
Wait, why are they called Barbados sheep? Are they from Barbados?
From Barbados? Yeah.
I didn't even know they had sheep in Barbados. Good to know. I don't know.
It's a very rare sheep, actually. So there's not too many of them, but that, like they say, the meat is supposed to be excellent. So that's kind of one of the reasons why we kind of went into that one. And we just kind of learning that as we go. Like we goat meat, there's a big shortage of goat meat in the States. So that's one of the reasons why we got into that, and just kind of getting different products and experimenting, like tasting different eggs. Like we got ducks, so we use duck eggs. Like the difference in the eggs is amazing.
Yeah.
Just alone. So we haven't got a chance to do the meat yet, but the difference in the eggs.
I see that you like eggs a lot. Like the farm fresh eggs are just, oh wow. We never have had them until we started raising them. So it's like I don't ever want anything else.
I've never actually had farm fresh eggs. I buy Vital Pastures eggs, but I'm just getting the stuff at the grocery store. I've never had.
Right. That's how we were. So when we first got them, I was like, all right, we can't even put any seasoning on them. So it's just a little bit of butter just to put in the cast iron and just to taste them how they came. And they didn't need anything.
Oh. Yeah, they're rich, and the duck eggs are even richer. Like there's a lot more yolk in them. But it's just great because we created the Southwest Black Ranchers, so we can share this with more people. Just like how you said you're the Black Carnivore, we put the Black in the name, the Southwest, because we're here in the Southwest, and we are Black ranchers here. We're a mixed family though. I'm Filipino and Mexican, and then he's Black, and then our kids are mixed. So it's just paving the way for them, so that way they're not the first ones coming up. We can start it, spread it, share it with people. We have about like 5 or 6 families who they are just so excited to just come down and start seeing the animals working on the farm. We've had an overwhelming response of people saying they want to come. They want to come volunteer. They just are like the first Black ranch in Arizona. They want to come visit. We're going to start doing workouts on the ranch. So we just set our gym up. But it's
nice.
We're going to start working out again. You know how these things go, and you like are always fit, and then you like take a break and you got to get back into it. But we're
but you're working hard. It's not like you're just sitting around.
Right. There's always something to be done, so much. And we've literally we have a GoFundMe for the Southwest Black Ranchers, and we are literally at like 1% of our goal, and we've done all of this so far in just the 7 weeks.
So you started like 2 months ago, and you already have animals. Wow. Yeah. And are you also living there, or you're living on the farm?
Now. Yeah.
Okay.
We have to be here to take care of everything.
Plus, it's basically we have to build it. So I mean, you gotta be here to build it and be here to take care of the animals. So the animals is the most important thing. It takes time to develop a food source. So getting on top of that and just being able to breed some of the animals and get them to build up, because our budget's not the biggest budget. It's not like we have unlimited money to go out and just purchase a bunch of cows and stuff. So we got to kind of build from the ground up. So one of our big thing is like we never even want our product to hit the grocery stores. We want it to be from farm to table. So it's a real natural meat. so that it's not, there's none of the antibiotics and stuff. Even though they label it that they don't have it, they got things in it. So
yeah.
get the actual product to people is our whole goal.
Animal feed has more antibiotics in it than you know about. So it's like,
wow.
Like, yeah. So we have
Yikes.
to make sure to get like wild game feed or like turkey feed, certain ones that are, make sure that they don't have the antibiotics in their food. But we've been so lucky because we've been able to find like really rare things that are really, like I said, hardy, that are solid, that are like a good line of breeding for like our birds. They're all either like meat or egg production, so they can be both ways. But what was I gonna say with the I don't remember. It's with the production. Yeah, we definitely want to be able to grow, and like with our budget, it's like we'll think we were almost gonna get solar. We have like 2/3 or like 3/4 of a solar system ready to go, and we were gonna buy the batteries, and then we found out about the sheep, and so we don't have solar. We got the sheep. Like,
well, wait. So what are the cattle eating now?
Oh, they eat this. It's called the Sudan hay. Sudan hay. They like oats a lot. Right now, well, we had a bull and we had a heifer, which are both really young. Because we can't, like, a regular full grown cow is like 800 plus to like 1200. So we got the babies, and people wean babies at different times. But ours were weaned like really young. But our bull, he's been making it pretty solid. So we still have the bull, but we don't have the heifer. We're gonna get more cows, but that's gonna. I think the next ones we're gonna get are gonna be a little bit bigger, so that way we don't have to worry about the winter so much.
Right.
But I had a little sad moment, and I filmed it. It's on my Instagram after the cow died. But it's just like, I know it's part of the process, but and it's not just about the money, but this is why farms have babies in the spring. This is why. So because the winter is so tough on them, and this is why they go to market in the slaughter in the fall. So that way you don't have to take care of these animals all winter long, because a lot of you can lose a lot, in the winter. And that's why I said I have so much more respect for just our whole food cycle. Because these farmers have to do so much to make sure that these animals all survive, so that everyone can eat. And that's why we're excited to be a part of this process. Our goal is to find people, just because we know how it is, and we just feel like if people kind of come together and support, our goal is to find like 20,000 people to give $20, and then it would like help with like a well, like a tractor, like these kind of things, irrigation, more animals, fencing, but just the exposure. We've been getting just so much support from people. We haven't had like anybody giving like negative feedback or anything like that. And especially after we lost the cow, like so much support. Just people were so from all sides of the spectrum. People can really understand that. I think that we respect the animals as well. So I was actually a vegetarian for like 10 years before I met my husband. And and when I got pregnant, he's like, no, I want my baby to eat meat. So, but during that time, like we have such deep respect for animals. So on the protein ranch, we're not only do we respect our animals and we're growing protein, but we're also growing like protein rich vegetables and things like that too. But I think after experiencing that loss, we're gonna that's why I said, try to raise things a little bit more hardy and make sure that everything is taken care of. We our last name is Stewart, so there's a saying called the steward. A steward is actually somebody who takes care of the land. So now we're really stewards of the land, which is kind of interesting. And with the sheep, it's like I felt like I was pregnant last night. Coming home with the pregnant sheep, he was so protective of them. And we have coyotes, and they are everywhere, and they will attack your animals. And so he was like up almost all night, like just making sure that they're safe. And it's just so interesting, this whole transition, turning into these like a real ranch. you know,
Yeah.
even though we're still very small. It's really happening, you know.
So how, I mean, this seems like so much to learn. Everything from like, you know, getting animals, feeding them, taking care of them. I assume you're going to have to learn like how to, are you going to do butchering on your own farm? Because if you're not sending it to market, if I come and buy a quarter cow, you're going to do that for me too. And like shipping and so much.
Yeah, basically, yeah, there's definitely a lot to learn. That is the goal, is to be able to get it farm to table, butcher and process it all ourselves. So, you know, everything's an educational
Those boys
process.
better hurry up and grow up because you need some more hands. I don't know how you're doing it, just the two of you.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're getting there. They help out a lot. I mean, you would be surprised with how much my crew can get done. I'm very proud of what we're changing for the world. I mean, it's me, my wife. We got 4 young children, but we get it done. They're hard workers. You know, I have a lot of respect for them, what they've done. I know that they love the change and they've embraced everything. So it's like we're all aboard, all of us. So that's definitely a big part of it. My youngest one, he's definitely ready to do the butchering and stuff. he's all about this. He wants to raise them. He's happy when they're laying eggs, and it's funny. But my older son, he wants to breed them. He likes keeping the eggs. He just wants to get more and more of the animals out of them. So everybody's got their little niche, and it's really cool actually how it's coming together.
And our goal, that's why, and the budget for a new farm, they say it's like between 500,000 or 600,000. So I was really doing like a smaller scale for the 400, but that's also the processing center. So that's why the processing our own meat is like the ultimate goal, because when food systems shut down, the processing centers are what's shut down. You know, so that's what creates the shortages, and we want to make sure that people have direct access to food. So if for any reason the grocery store is shut down, like it just did one state over in New Mexico, then people still have access to food. So we want to do this, like for us, the food is the most important part. Like we're putting aside housing, everything, just so we can just keep the food production, because we feel like that is where our time and is most important. We want to just create food so people have food. You know.
Mm-hmm. So you know, one of our big goals is to be able to feed 1,000 families. So if we're able to do that, I mean, basically the way the shift is and the way people are going to be going less to places. I mean, obviously what's going on right now is not going to stop. I don't want to get too much into that conversation, but the way it's going, it's going to be, you're going to need more resources of smaller farms and ranches, because all you got to do, if pretty much less than 10% of the food that we touch, over 90% of the food we touch comes from less than 10% of the farms. So when those farms get in trouble, there's no food. So there's going to need to be more and more smaller ones where the food touches less hands, so that it's able to get to people
directly to
them. So it's like if you limit the amount of people that can go to the store, limited amount of meat. So if you say you can buy 2 packs of meat, that doesn't work for my family. We're going through that quick. One night. It's 6 of us. I mean, we go through that food really quick. So it was really like a burden. So we really want to just kind of, that's our way of saying that we want to be a part of the change and do something to help with, you know, the situations that are going on. So, you know, as opposed to like protests and stuff like that, we want to make a change in that manner. We want to try to do something positive. We want to bring up equality. So if we're at 13%, we feel there should be 13% of the food source should come from people of color as well. That's equality. So it's a lot of reasons why we're doing it. You know, number one is food, because that's the number one thing in the world. You know, you can't have health without food, and you can't live without food. So that's something that's got to happen that we feel. So that's kind of,
we feel like everybody can get together when it comes to food. So whatever divisions people have, you know, food is the most important thing. And being in the health industry, it's like real food matters. Real food matters. not these things that they can just put together and like you said, in the lab or just on the line, or like you said, from a bag. Anything from a bag. It's like Like, real food is the most important thing, especially for not just ourselves, but for future generations to come. And showing people that we can do this. And Stu says sometimes to progress we have to regress, which is kind of like, I think, what we're doing, and a lot of people have to take their health more seriously right now, so hopefully they start listening like to you and seeing, like, I don't know why for people telling them that they need to eat meat, it's like telling them to eat poison or something. Like they just can't handle, like, that's the healthiest thing for them, and
it's a lot of misinformation that we have to overcome. But, I'm really glad that you guys are out here doing this. Now, let me ask you, like, I assume you're in like a rural area. Like, what's the, your neighborhood, your community like? Are there any other Black folk out there? How do you find you're getting support from the ranching community just as fellow ranchers, or is that like an issue too?
Well, no, actually, where we're at, it's kind of funny. There's a couple of lots down. There's a interracial family as well that is Black as well. So that was nice to see. But everybody out here has been really great. I mean, there's a rancher that's over kind of by us, but in our area, it's not like a bunch of farms. I mean, there are a lot of farms throughout Cochise County where we're at, but they're spread out. So we're right where we lay. Like, we're the only ones really trying to kind of build something like we're trying to build here. But everybody's been great and very helpful to us. It's been amazing. We've actually become real close with the neighbors up the street in the short time we've been here. They out here on a similar mission as us.
Yeah. And it's funny because they allow like more natural type buildings, like because we do the adobe, and on our street is 3 alternative type buildings the same way. Not like all the same way as ours, but in that type of manner. Like a cob or a straw bale or things like that. So it's very like an open-minded community, and we've actually connected with a lot of the different people, even though it's like they're so spread out. We've had really, really good connections, and I can tell they're very supportive of what we're doing. So that's really helpful. And the ranchers that we've been dealing with, where we've been getting our animals from, have been just so supportive, just telling us anything that we need to know, answering any questions. We actually met with the University of Arizona. They have a cooperative extension program, and we're going to keep dealing with them. And they have specialists at the university that we can go to for free with any questions about anything. So it's a big misconception that because it's a Black farm, that all of a sudden we just get all these grants or there's all this money available, because it doesn't work like that.
I know, it's crazy. People seem to think that, and it's like, well, where's my Black prize? I haven't gotten my Black, pot of money. What?
Yeah. It's definitely hard actually getting funded for farming. Like, basically the way it's set up, it's like with land, either you outright buy the land cash or you do owner finance, and the banks won't touch you. So if you have good credit and a down payment, that doesn't necessarily help you as far as getting land. As far as getting grants, you need to be pretty much a full-fledged farm. So you need to kind of purchase a lot of things and that you can't really get funding for to even get grants. They make it very difficult to actually penetrate into the food system. That's kind of why we're coming the angle that we're coming in. So that it's not, you do all the work and you all of a sudden just lose everything because you didn't the land, because of something that was going on with the land or whatever. The land lease, there's so many issues that go on with those things.
Right.
So,
well, I'm really impressed that you're doing that. It's super important. And I just am really happy to hear that, because it's been pretty scary, I think, during this whole pandemic process to see the state of our food supply and to learn that, it's like regulations and decisions, that's actually blocking people's access to food. And in fact, it certainly seems to me that there are, corporations that are interested in fully controlling many aspects of the food supply, and which is just not going to be good for people.
Right.
So, Yeah. I see a lot of continued further processing, and to the point that, like, I don't think people understand what processed food even means. And so it's like, I don't know how to get people back to understanding what fresh whole food means. I mean, what that really does mean. What does that
Well,
mean to you? You tell
well, I
us.
mean, I'm glad you mentioned that because like the direction they want to go in with it is basically they've already started. They take some cells from a cow and they've been growing meat from the cells in which they want to cut up and shape to the meats that we're traditionally used to looking at. So I mean that's one thing they're doing. They take carbon from the sky to make powders that create protein. And then they got like baby embryos that can create savory taste and sweet taste. So to me, that's kind of like learning these things as well. Kind of really pushed us in this direction because I don't
Wait,
want
sweet taste in the meat?
in foods
In food.
So
in
you,
In the
food.
processed
So
food.
if you can do that to anything, you don't know what you really eat
Yeah.
because there's ways they've developed that can change the taste buds, our taste buds.
I mean, they've
So
said they want to eliminate animal meat. I mean, I think I put a link to something on our Instagram about it. But yeah, they've literally come out and said they want to eliminate meat from the market. I mean, there's been documentaries about it, and that's why we're grateful. We met with Diana Rogers, who does Sustainable Dish, or she wrote The Sacred Cow. As well, like she's a big meat advocate. You're a big meat advocate. I think it's coming together as people who eat meat, and we are excited that we get to be a part of the solution and become another source for and one person we were talking to, who's looking to help get us some more exposure too, was like, are you making it clear you're only just doing Arizona? And we're like, no, we don't just want to do Arizona. We want our meat to be able to go everywhere. It's not, of course it's small now, but these things grow, and once you can grow and streamline the process, and are able to, once we have more fencing and more animals and things like that, we'll be able to sell the meat directly to people, and it doesn't just have to be Arizona, but because we're here, we're able to, at least we can say we know we can deliver it to you, if anything were to be an issue. But I mean, there's fulfillment where we can send it anywhere, and there's farms that send their meat anywhere. So I'm like, how can I get you some eggs a day?
Yeah. Well, that might be hard, but I definitely, would love the lamb and the goat and the beef. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of us who would be happy to order. So we're eager. Like, how soon? Like, when is this stuff gonna be ready?
Basically our biggest goal is because one of my things is having heritage turkeys. So it's a high end turkeys to have heritage turkeys available for next Thanksgiving. So that's put us about a year out to be able to get everything kind of built up and get started. And that's kind of our major starting point goal. But the way it kind of looks like is because we started doing the sheep and the goats, the way they reproduce. I mean, that might be available around the same time too, hopefully.
Yeah,
So,
or if there's a big Muslim holiday, I can't think of what it is, in the spring, and that would be nice to have some sheep and goat available at that time too. But these things, it's nature, so we not only do we have to naturally grow, but they have to develop. Probably the eggs and poultry will be available sooner than that, though. But it's just great, just entering into this new process, because as long as you keep going, you're going to be able to grow. One person had two of these sheep and was able to grow that to 30 in what's it called, in like 3 years or 2 years, 2 to 3 years. But they're 36, I think. But still, like, they showed us even their breeding process and their chart of how, just from two, so if we're able to keep growing and growing and getting more, there's an abundance of land here, so we're able to expand as well. But I mean, right now we have plenty of land to just keep growing and buying, and literally any donation that we get, we're literally just growing. We're like
just straight. We just go pretty much to buying animals.
Yeah.
At this point, because it's going to, we have to grow so we have enough to actually sell on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the big push right now. That's why we're trying to get some that are already bred, some that need to be bred. It's kind of how we can get them, but we're looking for quality animals, and that's the main thing.
But you will know when it's available. That's why I always follow back people who follow us, so that way I'm like, these are potential future customers too. These are people who support us and who might want to buy our food. So that's why I always try to follow back and get to know our customers and our supporters, because they kind of see the same journey that we're going down and support us on that, so they can kind of.
Well, do you have an email list? Do you have an email list?
No. I should start taking emails. No, I just kind of have. I'm very tapped in kind of more to our Instagram, and then a little bit more to the Facebook, but we're trying to grow.
You got to get an email list, because you can't control who actually sees your content. That's all Instagram. And it's not even like, your followers. Now they've, I don't know, redone the algorithm. So it's basically like people who interact with you see you. So if you haven't interacted with someone in a while, even if you're following them, they won't see you. But don't worry about that. MailChimp, it's free. You can create a landing page. People go and they give you their email address, and then you can send out an email once a month. We're working on it. These are the things that are going on. Stay tuned. Soon we'll be, whatever. But I would love to be on your email list. I know all the Black Carnivores would love to be on the email list and know, how things are coming. And, some of us have the resources to be able to help support. Please.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. I have a website, so I'll make sure that we can. It's not like fully put together, but it's. But
it's okay.
I'll make sure we can get the email on there too. So thank you. Yeah. It's like you. I don't know. I feel like you get it. It's like slow but steady. Everything's always just moving forward, and it all just.
Well, I mean, this is a tremendous project that you guys have taken on, and so I can understand. I mean, just even doing YouTube videos, it's like obviously not anything in comparison, but I realized doing it that this is, I'm doing all the jobs that like in a regular Hollywood place, there'd be like 20 different people whose specific job is to do one aspect of it. And so, and so it's like, I'm trying to do what 20 people normally would do, and that's what you're doing. You're taking the business part and getting the financing and the butchering and the raising and security, like battling wild animals. I assume like that's a thing in and of itself.
While we're on the phone call with you this morning, right now I'm looking at like 20 quail just walking in front of the car right now, and what's it called? 2 horses just walked by.
Are these wild, or they're somebody else's and they're just walking around having a day?
The quail are wild right now.
Yeah, but they have what's called free range out here, so you might see a cow walk by, you might see somebody's horse go by, because they can graze anywhere they want, as long as there's not fencing around the property. So yeah, it's kind of normal to see something walking around. Okay. And what is actually, I've had this question. I haven't had anybody ask. What is the natural diet of a chicken? Because if it's not feed and grain, I understand they're even like, they eat meat, or, they're like carnivorous. So what is the natural diet, and how do you feed your chickens?
So that is a great question. I've heard that all chickens have to have some form of grain. So even if people are like free, like they're grass fed, they're kind of like, there's no such thing as real grass fed chicken, because they can't just eat grass, but no, they have to have some type of grain. They love, like, I do buy them. They're called scratch grains, which are like seeds. There is some corn in there, but they're not like just fed corn, and like a sunflower seed mix. I realized that it's kind of like with our diets, how maybe they put out this processed food, or they put out these processed pellets for the chickens, and they say, oh, these are the best thing for them, and they're 16% protein. but the chickens hate them. And they literally only want like the fresh food. I mix up like sweet potato, oats, cabbage. I mix it up, and they love that. They love it. They eat fresh food, fresh. But you'll get this because you're keto, or you're a carnivore now. I was giving them fruit every day, and I feel like I turned them into crack addicts. They were like sugar hungry, even though it's just fruit. But no, our chickens do eat meat too, because protein is like, I was reading about how like the chicken has, or an egg has 6 ounces of protein, but their feather has 9 ounces or something. Like their feather has, or 9 milligrams, something, I forgot what it is, but their feathers have so much protein. They need protein. So no, we feed them like the leftover meat off of the bones. And I'm always looking for more sources. We're gonna start doing like worm farming and fly farming, so that way they can have fresh insects to eat. We have like a little walk that they go through now, but we're building a bigger enclosure so they can go free range more and eat more bugs. But yeah, from everything that I understand, chickens have to have some type of grain. And we're more, not, this has nothing to do with the chickens, but we're more on like the paleo side of things. Mm-hmm. So we do like oats, sweet potatoes, and brown rice. But that's literally like it. And then, we do the nuts and things like that. But when Stu was saying, like, when you are, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, basically, like I have to have, when you exert so much energy, I gotta have some kind of quick fix. So I mean, that's why I always have to have some kind of carbohydrates, because of the way I lift and like the amount of energy I exert. Like my cheeks get sunk in if I don't. It's kind of, and I lose like muscle mass really quick. But
because he does natural bodybuilding, so he was like saying that like he's in such a deficit that it'll just start going straight to his muscle and eating the muscle. And so that's when after exerting so much energy, a quick complex carb doesn't necessarily hurt you, because that sugar is just eaten up by the muscle to supply it some food. So it's just a little bit different. But I was telling him how much I like love and like respect like the keto and the paleo, because it's like more of an eliminate, or not the keto and the carnivore, because it's more like an elimination diet. So you, like, for him with the bodybuilding, he's a lot, very, very strict, everything when he's doing it. So we can tell if he has an adverse reaction to something. So just like when you are only in your beef and egg, and you can tell if you're having an adverse reaction. So he can tell, like, if he's eating pancakes all the time, that no, sweet potatoes are actually way better for him because of the energy level, or just how he feels, or there's a lot of intuitively going on. But yeah, I just wanted to share that because I totally get it. It takes so much discipline what you're doing, but you're a lot more in tune with your body, and you can kind of see how things are going. And it's funny when you said that I was listening to one of your podcasts, and you were saying how you've been a little bit more open to like how everybody has their own style and version of doing this, and I don't feel like I embrace like anybody who eats meat. I'm just glad you eat meat, but even the vegans, it's like I was a vegetarian too, so I get it, I just am like, they're in their own process, and hopefully one day maybe they'll come around, or hopefully they can stay healthy. That's what I try to tell them. Try to at least have some protein powder, have some whey, anything to try to get your protein up, so that way they don't get sick,
Yeah, my big thing about that is that at the end of the day, they do lose the weight, but there's such a muscle deficiency that they've got problems, and because it kills your metabolism. If you just shoot your muscle out, you're gonna kill your metabolism. And you eat, and whether you lost the weight or not, you're gonna have a whole nother world of problems coming your way. So it's important not to just like destroy that. And having protein that's what's gonna help you, build the muscle. I mean, carbohydrates protect them, but protein builds them. You got to take care of it. If you like saying again, it depends on how much energy you exert. Like I lift weights 7 times when I'm doing it right now, but 7 days a week. Every day I work out, I do something, then I go do all the other things in life. So I mean, with mine, clean carbohydrates is what helps me. If you don't do all the stuff I do, which most people pretty much don't, because yeah, that's definitely a healthier way to go about it, especially if you have like any kind of illnesses. Taking a lot of those things out and the carbohydrates out does help it, especially, with some insulin things and cancers and stuff like that, because cancer feeds off sugar. So it's a lot of benefits to the diet. It's kind of catered to what you are, what you do. But I mean, I support anybody who's trying to take care of their body and being healthy. And if, even though it's like, I got sometimes I do have a sweet problem, especially when I don't lift weights and I'm not working out. It kind of if I don't work out, everything breaks down for me. But when I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm stressed. Like out here, it's hard out here because like we're just building, so all the normal luxuries we have, like all the meat and everything in the refrigerator, you prepare everything, you can have food for a couple of days just to make sure you're good. Yeah, that doesn't happen out here. So
we're on a grill.
We're on the grill. We're doing what we can do.
Wait, are you building your living house as well as like the house for the animals and
everything?
Kind of, but that's not like our main priority. Because the food is the main priority, but it's like,
well, you gotta live in something. Aren't we going into winter?
We're working on that.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. It's like this, but when opportunity comes to purchase some animals that are at a price that fits our budget and what we're looking for, that's definitely what we're going to do, because the whole point of being out here is that I always have something to do. We're at the very beginning stages. So, I mean, I bought 10 acres of dirt. So that dirt needs to get transformed. So, I mean, I'm with Adobe, we can get a building up pretty good, pretty quick. It's not like I come from a construction background, but I'm pretty much halfway through a bathroom and a room as well. It's ultimately going to be a library, but it'll be, living quarters and, for a second. But
I've seen videos of like those earth houses out in the West where there's like tires and everything is sort of this mound of dirt, and then you go inside and there's this amazing thing. So is that an Adobe house, or I don't even know? So
yeah, it's no tires. We're not doing tires or anything. We've looked at all the different types of building, and we found that we like hyper Adobe. So that's where you use bags that are mesh. So when you like kind of like mud it up, or you fill up the bags, but because of the mesh, it allows them to connect. So it's a little bit, we feel like it's strong. And you can see our buildings on our page. The walls are like, how thick?
They're 2 foot wide. So really, Adobe buildings been around forever. Before all the buildings that we look at, they were building out of Adobe. They last for hundreds and hundreds of years. So I mean, it's an inexpensive way that you can build with just pretty much labor and not a lot of building costs.
Okay, but how did you even figure out? How did you figure out how to do that? Like, I watch a YouTube video. Do you buy a blueprint? Like,
YouTube.
We looked at YouTube, okay? And then you're like, all right, so how are we going to build? What are we going to build out of? And we just start watching, and then you kind of go through all the different ways, stick builds. They got like different concrete forms you can build out of. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, you look at these people doing it, you're like, you know what? I can do that too. That's something I can do with my experience.
So I get how you can put up 4 walls and the floor, but what's the ceiling? How do you do that?
So with the roof, I mean, basically, you kind of put these things like cleats. So basically, you take some cut up 2x4s that are about this wide, and you kind of put a bag here and a bag there, and then you can slide the beams for the roof right through there, and then you put like a bag over, and then you kind of just make it solid.
A wood.
Okay.
Like OSB.
Yeah, wood would be the roof. And we want to do like water catch systems as well with the roofs. And the neighbor we're actually really close with, he's a contractor. So he was like, when you get to your roof, he's like, I'll help you. So as soon as we get the materials and everything as far as that's concerned.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that sounds awesome. I hope you're posting pictures of that too, because that sounds really cool to see. Yeah. Oh my God. So interesting. So Oh God, I have so many questions.
Hold on one second.
Sure.
Oh, you can go. It's so funny because where we live, we say we talk to more people here than we ever did in the city. Because even though we have like acres and you don't see, there's hundreds of acres and there's maybe like 20 houses out here, you know?
Yeah.
But they all stop. And one of them just came and stopped by.
Oh, nice.
So like we always are talking to neighbors out here, you know. So,
yeah.
But it's nice because it is kind of like a sense of community, because when you're out here, you know, there's nothing out here. So if somebody needs help, you know, it's good to know everybody. And I heard that about the Black Cowboys, actually, that they got along well out in the West. Not just because they were independent, but because when there's nobody out here, you all kind of have to work together to survive, you know, especially, you know, moving the cattle and things like that. But like the other day we stopped and he was helping some of our neighbors who are in their 90s, you know.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking talk to the neighbors.
Sorry about that. So
he got us some seasonings.
He does.
Seeds.
Yeah,
what kind of seeds?
Seasoning.
Seasoning.
I don't know if you can see. Yeah, he makes seasoning. And he just dropped this off for us, and it's really good seasoning. It's delicious. Too. Oh, that was so nice.
You should taste it on a turkey burger.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I like that about how you for your carnivore diet, how you tell people all the different ways of eating that, like not the same thing, but like of eating healthy, and it doesn't have to be plain. You know, like you said, like the mustard, the seasoning, all of these different things. So yeah, we're big into meat. So there's so many different ways you can prepare meat, and it just tastes delicious. You know, so I don't ever get sick of eating meat. Oh my gosh, I get sick of not eating meat. I don't like all this junk we've been eating sometimes when we get off track, you know.
But, yeah, well, I've been wanting to have more access to lamb, but you know that's kind of it's kind of hard. You know, it's not really that available, and it's pretty expensive. You know, where I've seen it, so. You know, I'm like excited that you're going to be, you know, making that a big part. Because it's like, why am I getting? Yeah, because it's like lamb mostly comes from Australia, so it's like, why am I buying some meat from, you know, like 24-hour flight away, like when you could be from, you know, down the street? But yeah. Well, are there not a lot of ranchers that do sheep? Like, why is it so common to get the sheep from Australia?
Sheep and goat aren't big in the States like that. So it's becoming bigger, and that's why it's a very high demand. You know, but I mean, you think about America, you think about cattle. It's cattle ranchers, cattle ranchers. You know, it's like
but sheep seems so easy. They're smaller. You know, you can get wool as well. Like, you know, it just seems like you know, a nice alternative.
Well, we're learning that it's an easier way to go. With our budget, it's definitely easier. You know, when you start purchasing cows and dealing with cows, it's expensive, and cows cost a lot of money. So I mean, you make a lot of money on them, but that's kind of the thing. You know, out here is that everybody wants to be the cattle rancher.
Yeah,
that's the big ranch, it's the cattle ranches, so that's where all the money's at.
Our big thing is we want to be more niche. So as far as the cows, we still want to be able to offer and supply some beef, and we've actually had a wonderful meeting. I made a really great friend with another rancher who said that like in a year he also wants to help us supply beef. And we have another friend who's a rancher who supplies beef, who I think we could work with too. So we can offer beef because, like I said, that takes 2 years to be able to be ready. So even if we started expanding now, it won't be ready for quite some time.
Right.
But with the sheep and goat, it made me think more about like people hunt. You know, people hunt, and that is a big market. People don't necessarily all eat a lot of deer meat, though. But like pheasant, we want to be able to offer like pheasant and quail, which, you know, they're smaller meats. They're more delicate meats. They have their own flavor. So we're going to be excited to try those too. But yeah, with the sheep that we got, we heard that they are delicious. that, I mean, if you can look them up, they're called Barbados black belly sheep, and they're supposed to not be as muttony as lamby. And I've smelled lamb where it kind of has that lamby flavor. People brought it out to help volunteer with us, and it was in the cooler still. So I was smelling it, and it's different. So you have to kind of gear yourself up for different meats, you know, and different things. But I heard that this sheep that we have is just amazing. They don't get as big as the other sheep, but they have just more like a kind of like a deer type flavor, not necessarily like a sheep like flavor. So it's gonna be real interesting. I'm so glad to be talking to some other meat lovers. You know, I tell them that it's hard to find friends when you're like so different sometimes. I said, if only I could find a friend who lifts weights now, you know. Because we're like hardcore about that. But I mean, having friends who love protein too, man, it's serious. Like, I hate when people are like, oh, but no, have you tried the Beyond? I'm like, no.
Yeah. And I'm always kind of like astounded by people who care about the environment, who, really want to be doing things that help, and then are talking about eating meat that's either lab grown or created. And it's like, think about how much energy went into creating that product. Like, you're getting your energy from the sun, but the labs are like, plugging into an electricity grid or, whatever, but it takes a lot of resources to create that meat where you're not, you're using a natural process. So it really surprises me that people have such a strong disconnect between, what we're eating and our place as humans within the whole world cycle and the whole life cycle. Like we're together, we're not separate. And so I'm really interested, in how, as you come along and you continue on this process, like how you start to, sort of shift or reframe, where we fit as humans in the whole, animal world.
Totally. And even just understanding how a regenerative farm and a sustainable farm are different than this industrial farming or industrial food complex of just get as many things into one area as possible. The rotational grazing that you're supposed to be doing with the regenerative farming is so that the animals can not only eat the vegetation, but allow their waste to mix in with the soil. And our soil is like 6 inches of sand. So we get like dust storms all the time. Like that's why he has goggles. I wear like a headscarf. Like there's like, it's real out here. And that's why we're excited about the process too, because we get to see how we get to regenerate the soil now. We get to try to grow things, here and graze our animals here. So we get to be a part of the solution, which because with the grazing, for example, like the Great Plains, they had the buffalo there. And so they were fields of grass and everything like that, and animals were grazing. And this one, this ranch I follow in Africa, they talked about how when there's more carbon in the soil, you're retaining water, and that water retention means there's less drought. So it's like these things matter because we're not grazing animals, because we're doing things in a certain way that's destructive, but by changing that way, it's constructive. You know what I mean? So it's just cool to be a part of the solution. So when you
is there enough grass? Is there enough grass for your cattle to graze, or you have to bring it in with like bales of hay or whatnot?
So we're bringing in hay right now, just because he's only like about 3 months. So he has like Sudan hay, which is it has like all these really cool seeds in it. He does like alfalfa, but more the Sudan. But we're actually building some pens so he can start grazing out into the vegetation. But this desert landscape, it does supply food for like the sheep and the goats. But we're definitely going to be planting some grass So once we have like a well, and we somebody donated a bunch of fish bioproduct that we can mix with our soil. So we're going to be getting that hopefully this month to start regenerating that way with the soil too. But yeah, no.
So if you plant the grass, will that help with the dust storms or yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, you got a lot of work and transformation to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got years worth of work ahead of us.
Years and years. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's great. You know.
So how is that for your family? I mean, I think that, the pandemic has, I guess in good situations, it's been a great thing to bring families together. In bad situations, I suppose it's made things a lot worse. But here you are, you're like a pioneer family, literally. You have headed out west and you're building from scratch. So how is that bringing you guys together? Do you feel like you're happier with, how your kids are developing, and what's that like?
We're definitely happy with how they're developing, and it's brought us together. One of the things is we have so much work to do and so many things to do. Like, there's a lot of stress out there, but it kind of doesn't have anything to do with this right now out here, because we are just building. So for the next years, while all this is going on, we constantly have to be building. That's all we're going to be doing, is building and trying to grow what we're doing out here. So, I mean, it's it's a good thing for us, because it's taking us out of that situation so much. We look left to right. We just see mountains and, brush and stuff.
Yeah, I guess you don't wear a mask. Like, there's nowhere to go. You're not seeing anybody.
Right. I mean, we go, the Walmart's about 15 minutes away, so we can go get supplies, and that's all we do. We go there if we got to get something and come back here. So we're always out here, and we're just always here. So, I mean, it doesn't, we don't have all the stress of being locked into anything, and there's a lot of things we get to avoid by being out here. So it's definitely been a big benefit in that manner.
And one thing that that he said is like so important, and that he just loves to see, is our sons and daughters, their work ethic has just totally developed. The boys just jump in and start shoveling. They know how to shovel. That is for sure. They know how to shovel. And the girls just always taking care of the animals. My son, he'll get up every morning, because they all have different responsibilities and with different animals. And so he gets up, and he just loves his goats so much. He tries to like wash them in the morning and everything, wipes off their little faces and cleans out their pens. And it's just nice to see that that they care so much. And our youngest is just is blossoming so much. So
they all have chores, and they're becoming more responsible, caring about people or animals other than themselves. Like, that creates a real sense of responsibility and like a stand-up person. So that's really awesome.
Well, definitely. I mean, all the stuff I build, my boys help me with it. I mean, I basically need their help. It's just me. So, I mean, they come in, and they work hard. They do a lot. I mean, I have a lot of respect for what they do. I think they know a lot about the things that they wouldn't know about because they're here. So a lot of times, like a lot of 21-year-olds and stuff in today's society, they know more things about life than a lot of them, because they stay inside. There's TV, video games. Nobody goes outside and plays anymore. So there's all the outdoor things that I did growing up, just being out and about, they get to do in today's world. So that's a big difference. And they lost the TV. I'm fine without it. So there's no TV. I don't do social media. I don't even touch my phone anymore. I won't even watch the news. So I just kind of out here doing what we're doing, and that's the focus. Just if you keep your head down and grind, eventually things will happen.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this has really been an amazing conversation, and it's just been fascinating to hear about all this. And I know that people really want to stay in touch. So I encourage you to start your own YouTube channel. I know that there are farms that just record what they're doing and show people what the process is. Because I definitely think that there's going to be a lot of black carnivores that are going to want to, know more about what you're doing. You said that people were, asking about when they could come and visit or volunteer. I would imagine that there's going to be some of us who want to do that too.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, so tell us, before we wrap up, I know I've kept you a long time, so thanks for answering like a million questions. But before we go, tell us, like, how can people stay in touch? How can they get involved? What else can they do? I know you talked about making a contribution to your GoFundMe page, but yeah, just tell us all.
So we're looking right now, we're working on making phases and major categories so we can hopefully start getting some major donations where we can like dedicate like a building to people or dedicate our well. If somebody wants to donate like a well, these are things that are like major that will be here forever on the farm, and those would be dedicated to those donors. But for anybody who wants to make a contribution, we would thank you so much, and we would we have a link on our GoFund or on our Instagram and on our Facebook page. We have a YouTube channel, but the only YouTube that I actually made, which you can check it out, it was about how to purchase land. So I saw that there was a lot of people in my Black farming Facebook group, and they didn't understand how buying land works, and it's a whole different type of market. It's a contract market. There's negotiable things. There's a lot of different variables to it. So I made a video. It's kind of long on there, but we'll start adding to our YouTube channel too. So thank you for that. And but yeah, just following us on Instagram, telling people about us. I feel like the more people who know, oh my God, there's a whole state with no black farms. You know what I mean? Oh, and this is bringing in younger farmers. It's bringing in hopefully a new food supply to the country.
So yeah, as far as contacts, I mean the Instagram, the Facebook, and then was the Southwest Black Ranchers.
Yeah, the email.
So Southwest Black Ranchers at gmail.com. Those are ways to communicate anything with us, and any help, anything support, we definitely always appreciate. We're very grateful about everything that's happened to us so far. So we couldn't do it without the support we've had.
Thank you so
Excellent.
much. Yeah, and we love it from the health and fitness community too. I feel like they're starting to get more aware of what we're doing, because they're very active and involved as well, just like us. So so thank you for bringing us on your show.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, and I would love to have you back, in 6 months, see how you're coming along, or, whenever, well, I guess in the spring, that's the time that things are happening on your end.
Yeah, that would be great.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, great. So everybody who's watching, I hope you really enjoyed this conversation, and definitely sign up and follow these guys. This is a really amazing project that they're working on, and I think you're really going to appreciate the results. All right, I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.